Chelsea 3, Luton 0. Poch has his first win. I'm back in the UK, not back in the SonOfChelsea studio just yet, but Chelsea win a game at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League. Feels like a very long time since I've seen that happen. I think it was Leeds. I don't know if that was the last Premier League home game we won, but it was the last one I saw us win at Stamford Bridge. That was a very long time ago. And sure, there were moments in the game that you could be concerned about, or just frustrated that the tempo and the intensity maybe wasn't there. I feel like, yes, the kind of the Chilwell hybrid left winger experiment still looks to me a little bit makeshift and maybe because of circumstance. But I felt there were at least one very outstanding performance, and we had the first Nicolas Jackson Chelsea goal, which is what I wanted to see tonight. And I think overall, you just got to be happy, right? I think people just enjoy winning a game. I mean, it's so tense inside Stamford Bridge. It's so tense around the club. I understand that because of what happened last season. I understand that people are concerned about the direction of the club, and I don't think all of that is hyperbolic or nonsensical. But there just has to be a joy, right? A very base level joy of just seeing your team win a football match, right? And I think that's what it's got to be tonight. And when you're seeing Raheem Sterling play the way he is, I don't know how you don't enjoy that. I felt that the team, sure, it wasn't quite the team I would have liked to have seen. But Poch is staying very consistent with personnel. And I think, again, you flip back to last season, and given he's had some serious injury problems already this season, we're only 3 games in, the fact that he's staying consistent, I don't think is the worst thing. He clearly trusts a group of players and he's sticking with that. And it's got him the result, right? I think there would have been a lot of criticism if Chelsea hadn't have won tonight, obviously, and 3 games without a win would have been a bit concerning. But the fact that Chelsea got over the line in quite emphatic fashion in the end, I think will be justified. I guess the concern is that, against better quality teams, as we've already seen this season, Chelsea will get punished. But I do feel that overall it's still got to be more positive than negative. And I felt that Chelsea would win tonight. And I'm not just saying that arrogantly. I just felt the level of opponent, the fact that Chelsea had looked very good in periods during the first 2 games. I just thought it was a matter of time before things clicked. And I know there were some concerns about Luton's very direct or low block. I felt it was pretty clear in the first 20 minutes, actually, that they were going to really struggle. And their kind of very direct style of play, I think it's going to be very difficult for them away from home to try and maintain that when you have a level of quality on the ball in the Premier League that you just maybe don't have in the Championship. And I felt that Luton, even when they got into the final third, some of their deliveries were just truly woeful. So that helped Chelsea a lot. And when you've got Moises Caicedo starting his first game, I thought it was probably the perfect game for him. He had a shaky moment where he lost the ball early on, but all right, it's not the most intense game, but given what happened last weekend, I felt that it was just a very calm, kind of just all right night for him to just ease into things at Chelsea, and maybe others would take the spotlight. And one of those, of course, is Raheem Sterling. Now, I spoke about Sterling when I did you can go and find the video, I think it was June, so it's before I went to the World Cup, about how I did my sort of predicted 11. And I said that I think Sterling is going to play more of a role for Pochettino than people think he will. And I thought mainly it was because of experience. I also thought it was because of, this is someone who, it's easy to forget, was joint top goal scorer for Chelsea last season. He still scored 9 goals, which is not atrocious. It's not an atrocious return for a wide player, but given Sterling's very high standards, it obviously pales in comparison to what he did at Man City. And just some of the things I'd heard about Sterling, literally at the back end of last season, how excited he was to work with Pochettino. And he had a very difficult pre-season. There's no getting around that. It's not like any of us could have watched him in pre-season and thought, wow, he's going to really hit the ground running. But the idea that we needed to sell him off the back of pre-season was just silly. And I know people want to see Mudryk play. And to be honest, he could still play, right, if he gets back from this injury quickly, which it seems like he will. Because Sterling's playing off the right this season, at least so far. He's not playing off the left, given the way Chilwell's playing as this kind of left winger / wing back role. So there probably is room for Mudryk to play and Sterling to play as well. But the idea that Sterling was just going to be knocked out of this team, I think, is proving to be a little naive, because he looks like a different player. He looks absolutely ferocious when he gets going. He looks faster. He looks fitter than last season. He is taking no prisoners. The idea that this is a guy at the end of his career who doesn't have a lot left in the tank. I think already under Pochettino, with a different fitness regime, you are seeing how there is still a lot left for Raheem Sterling to give in the Premier League. And yeah, it's just that first goal was just wonderful, and it felt like it was coming in terms of him just getting into some very good positions, and then just the delicate finish into the bottom corner. It was just dazzling to see, and it was great to see, because it lit up Stamford Bridge. And sure, there were a few moments where Sterling maybe got things wrong. I know that there are some people criticising him on his performance post the goal, and sure, Chelsea post the first goal could have gone for the juggler a little bit more. But Sterling was still, you always felt like Sterling was getting involved. And it very much feels like at the moment Sterling is kind of at the heart of what Poch is working with. Without Christopher Nkunku, you are kind of relying a lot on Raheem Sterling to make those runs, attract players, link up with others. The subtle things he does that maybe people don't really touch on, that, he makes key passes. He creates space for others. I think all of this stuff is very important for Chelsea. But I think Raheem Sterling obviously was outstanding. And the second goal, I like the second goal out of, second and third goal for me, I enjoyed more than the first goal. And that's not to try and have a go at Sterling. I thought it was a wonderful individual goal. The reason I prefer the second and third goal is especially the second one, they're more repeatable. They're more team goals. And I think probably from a coaching point of view, Pochettino will like the second goal. And I think we as fans should like the second goal, because it's the sort of goal that you can see being done consistently throughout the season. It involved quite a few players. There was a real sense of tension again coming up inside Stamford Bridge. Luton had one chance that was saved by Sanchez, and you were just kind of feeling that the momentum of the game was shifting, and it was becoming a little bit more transitional. I think Rob Edwards made a really good point in the post-match stuff that he did, where he said, either team could have scored in that period. I don't entirely agree with him, because it didn't feel like, to me, Luton were having bundles of chances or the quality of chances compared to Chelsea. But I didn't know what he meant, that it very much felt like a very open game there that could have swung in different directions. And with the nature of this Chelsea team, very young team, you do wonder what happened, or what would have happened if Luton would have scored, in the way Stamford Bridge would have reacted to that. But I like the fact that Caicedo, it's a small thing in the build-up to that goal, but I thought the weight of pass to Malo Gusto, I just thought was perfect. I mean, these are small things, right, that you expect a professional footballer at this level and that price that we've just paid for him to do. But I've just seen so many Chelsea players overhit or underhit that ball, and it just made it perfect for Malo Gusto to run onto it, and it was just brilliant, right into the mixer. And Raheem Sterling, where he's been for most of his career, right? I think you saw all kind of three sides of Raheem Sterling in the three goals today. You saw the individual brilliance, you saw the anticipation inside the box for the second, and you saw the creativity for the third, right? So I thought that second goal was just a great combination, and good for Malo Gusto, right? I think he's proving already to be a very, very competent and assured backup to Reece James, someone who is going to give that energy that Pochettino clearly needs. And I'm liking what I'm seeing, right? And we don't know when Reece is going to be back, so I'm very happy to see Malo Gusto keep playing, and the fact that we've actually got a specialist right back in that position rather than having to do the makeshift thing that we were doing last season, I think is very, very nice, right? It's of comfort to Pochettino, I think, without, of course, Reece James, who's a wonderful player. And of course, Nicolas Jackson. I was just really, really happy for Nicolas Jackson. There's still so much chatter about Chelsea going out and signing another striker. All of the options I'm hearing of at the moment just aren't really giving me much excitement. And it all just leads me back to thinking that you sign Nicolas Jackson, you've got Armando Broja returning soon, just develop those players. And especially Nicolas Jackson, because he has so many attributes that I just think excite me. Things that just if you were to compare and contrast to Kai Havertz last season, just night and day in terms of what Nicolas Jackson brings. He gets the ball and he's able to turn and run at defence very quickly. He's able to increase the tempo of an attack very quickly. He's physical. He gets the ball. He's not scared of a physical challenge. And he's also someone who, even when he loses out on those physical battles, is not just kind of giving up. He keeps on going and tries to win the ball. I think there is an unorthodox nature to him, which I think is actually what you need in the Premier League, in the sense that it feels like not everything has to be so neat and tidy. He can work his way out of some awkward situations on the ball and keep attacks going. But technically too, he seems to be working well with his fellow attackers, and he's also doing a lot of work for the team. Some of the runs he's making, some of the brilliant passes that Levi Colwill was playing through in the first half to him. You just see there's an all-round nature to Nicolas Jackson. He still is raw. There still is going to be some bad days for him in a Chelsea shirt, I'm sure of it, because he's a young striker. But to be there in front of the Matthew Harding to score that first goal, big moment personally for him to just get that first goal. And I think it should be a vindication of give this guy time to develop. I think he could turn out to be a very valuable player for Chelsea. It's early days and he will have some setbacks, I'm sure, throughout the season. But I like what I see. I think as a focal point, he's a million miles better than what we had last season. And that's of course, criticising last season, but I think it shows you how, I think valuable Nicolas Jackson is already proving to be. Some other players, I thought Ben Chilwell, obviously, there's been a lot of stuff said about Ben Chilwell, right? And I'm not the biggest fan of him playing at left wing. I don't know what he was thinking in that chance at the start of the second half. And that was a worrying moment because you thought, oh no, is this where the game's going to turn and Chelsea going to come back to rue that missed chance? Given Chilwell's ability in front of goal, I don't understand why he wasn't shooting there. And he's kind of made a joke about it on social media. I do think like a lot of the Chilwell hate is just so forced. I'm not talking about criticism. I think people just, there are some people who've just disliked Ben Chilwell before he even signed for Chelsea. And it's very clear to see when, that stuff is being used kind of as cover. And I do think he's a very, very good footballer. I'm not quite sure it's working. And I'm not sure it's getting the best out of Ben Chilwell. He still is able to make some very good runs, and he's got that ability to. He's an amazing athlete, like in terms of the way he's able to accelerate with the ball. I just don't know. I think that maybe for him, what makes him quite dangerous from a wide position or when he's moving in, I just think having a player who's a decoy in front of him, I think is more impactful than him having to be that player. It just, because Colwill isn't really operating as someone who's like an overlapping sort of centre back like you'd see at Sheffield United, right? It's not like those two are linking up. It kind of feels like it's very lopsided at the moment. And sure, some of that maybe is compensating for the fact that you don't have Christopher Nkunku, who is a big part of pre-season. Mudryk, of course, unavailable. Madueke still coming back into some fitness. So I understand, but you've got Ian Maatsen there, right? I would have liked to have seen Ian Maatsen and Ben Chilwell down that left side, and maybe, of course, in time, Mykhailo Mudryk and Ben Chilwell. And I guess the bigger discussion point is when you're looking back in the team, what happens with Thiago Silva, in terms of a back two, because it feels like at the moment with his age, you kind of are forced to play a back three. And I'm not sure, but Thiago's such a wonderful professional. You don't want to lose him in the team, but there also is, I think there's going to become that friction, right? In terms of if it continues to be a problem, will we see a move to a back two, which I think is what Poch probably wants to play, because we didn't play through pre-season with a back three. Like, I think there was like 45 minutes where we did, but that was just probably to give players minutes rather than the intention. We all thought it was going to be a 4-2-3-1. So that's going to be interesting to see how that develops, right? Enzo, I just love watching Enzo play football. I think he's just got such a wonderful ability with the ball at his feet. His involvement in the build-up to the third goal, just the way he was able to knock that ball over and put it through to Raheem Sterling, who was bursting down the wing to try and get on the end of it. I think he's going to be an orchestrator, right? And sure, maybe he isn't playing that linker role, that number 10 role that maybe people think he could, but he still is such a vital player. And very early days for the Caicedo-Enzo partnership, but I think in time it's going to be good. And I also thought Conor Gallagher, just again showing why we shouldn't be selling him. And when you've loaned out Andre Santos too, Cesare Casadei's gone, you've got these injury problems. Carney Chukwuemeka's now out injured. The idea of sending Conor Gallagher was nonsensical before any of that happened. It should be absolutely out of the question now. It'd be criminal to let Conor Gallagher go. All right, there are still erratic parts to his game, but I just think in terms of what Pochettino is looking for this team, I just think he fits it. so perfectly. So we go into now the AFC Wimbledon game. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with that game in terms of from a team selection point of view. You always suspect against like a League Two opponent that it's going to be quite a lot of rotation. But at the same time, I think Pochettino will clearly want to take that competition seriously. I'd like to see Ian Maatsen come in. I'd like to see Noni Madueke maybe get that start. Mikhailo Mudryk if he's fit. Ugo Chukwu, who obviously came off the bench today, and maybe Mason Burstow getting some minutes too, Bashir Humphreys. There's a lot of names in there who either played a bit in pre-season or maybe require more minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if Moises Caicedo plays again, because of course this is a guy who didn't really have a pre-season, so you probably want to get those minutes up for him quite quickly. So I feel like midweek is a good opportunity to do that. Those are my thoughts on the game. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.